everybody. Welcome back to the Get Healthy Tampa Bay podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kerry Reller, and today we have a very special guest, Kristin Tomasello. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
I'm very excited to kind of learn all about who you are and what you do. And it's a little bit different. Sometimes we have a lot of medical doctors, but well, you're a nurse, like we discussed before, but you have a lot to offer here today. So why don't you tell us about who you are and what you do and kind of what led you here?
Well, I was very inspired by you guys as a practice. I suffered from lupus, severe hives, all of the things, and they thought it was allergies. They didn't really find out that it was lupus until I actually went to nursing school. So I graduated from Galen College of Nursing with a solution for myself, and definitely is the inspiration on starting my product. But I also graduated in business. So it's like I get to do both things in one business, which is what I love to do. And I love research and development, which is totally my jam. I I really wanted to practice, but with lupus, it was really difficult for me to kind of move forward in the medical way. So I was shown a different way to kind of still use my knowledge, still use my research into something impactful.
Yeah. Well, just to piggyback on what you said, so oftentimes we do see a lot of, autoimmune disease overlap with chronic hives or urticaria, kind of like you mentioned. And we're going to talk a lot about sun and things like that. And, there's actually a type of hives that actually we call solar urticaria or solar hives that patients can get when they just exposed to sun. And luckily you said you're doing much better, so that's good. But solar urticaria can be very painful. So that
Yes.
brings, us to say, so how did you get involved in like research development and kind of what you are going to be talking to us about today?
So when I believe it was med surge because I know that we have to take two med surge, like it's called medical surgery. But one specific chapter that I was spending a lot of time in was the oncology chapter and also the autoimmune. And when I was reading about lupus, I was like, I have all of these symptoms, and the doctors have never really kind of pinpoint really what was all of the issues I was dealing with. Also, my father had leukemia and my mom had skin cancer. So my mom had her surgery during my final year of nursing school. And my dad's been cured from leukemia for a little over a decade. And when I kind of hit those chapters, I was like really pouring a lot of energy into reading every detail of those chapters. And then, which then led me to when I was taking care of one of my patients that I had to do a care plan on, and then I had to do a simulation on, and then turn that, for grading. We love all that, even though it's like 12 hours of the same thing. But I was really inspired by one of the topical medication that I had to apply along with a patch. And I was like, this is what's going in our bloodstream. I said, imagine making something that is going to benefit the immune system, that's going to benefit the inside out. And I was also dealing with, at the time, being super, super sensitive to the sun, like you mentioned. Like I would go out into the sun and I would get a fever. That's happened to me numerous of times. And I was kind of confused as to why that was happening. But then when I got to read more and more, like I used to get this butterfly rash here, and I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anything. And I was just super inspired by creating something that kind of fits my whole family story, that's personal to me, that I know that I would wear, and I'm not going to poison myself. And I for sure don't want to poison other people because I know the significance of what cancer does in people's lives. I watched my dad literally collapse in front of me when I was 12, and his brain was hemorrhaging from the leukemia going in his brain fluid. It was a very life-changing, life-altering moment for me when I see him and there's like, oh, we don't know what this is. And then they find out that he has leukemia. And then it was just kind of hoping and praying that he was going to survive because the cancer spread everywhere. And they said that he had 3 days to live. So we were all praying as a family to even see him come through. That specific time, but that moment was kind of the moment for me that led me to raise money for the American Cancer Society, help, raise money for people that need help with medical bills because it was so expensive for us, and it was really difficult to just know that if we can make small changes, just even making a product that is mineral based, natural based, that isn't perfect, but it's enough to not harm you. That's what I'm looking for. And it's all personal for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, we haven't mentioned that you have a sunscreen line product,
Oh,
but I think that, given your background and your personal journey, I think it really makes sense to, be wanting to protect your skin. So, like you said, lupus patients or patients who have lupus, can have really sensitive skin. And that must have been very difficult. Sometimes we think we turn into hypochondriacs as we learn everything, but really difficult to realize that you had, all these symptoms as you're learning about it too. And then obviously your family is, kind of going through their own journeys as well. But so your mom, you said had skin cancer. So I'm assuming that's one of the, driving factors of creating that, including your own,
yeah.
history. So how did you, decide that you're okay, I'm just going to go make a sunscreen brand?
Well, it was the closest thing that I could do to connect the cancer research project in a more of a brand business way that I could also include my degree because it's considered an over-the-counter drug. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to be able to invent like an actual medication or spend time doing like actual medication research
Mhm.
or like making a new way, a new science way to kind of maybe give a new direction for cancer patients. So I kind of took my platform, my business, my business background, my nursing knowledge, and kind of just made it into, because I also competed for Miss Florida USA. So I also kind of turned it into a little bit of a beauty aspect where it can be beauty, but it also is science backed. I really wanted that to be part of the story is that we're not just a beauty brand. We are a science backed with research, and I can prove the research, the books and the stacks of books. So I really wanted it to be where it's like I'm showing people that I took time to be educated enough to impact the beauty industry because a lot of the products are also causing other issues for women and men. So it's not just me making a product. It's like we need to set a standard with other things that are being allowed to be sold, and
Mhm.
it's not okay.
Yeah, so obviously, we encourage sunscreen use in Florida, and you're saying that there's some, products that can be harmful maybe to the person that's using them. And so what makes this product different? Like are
We
there any specifics, like tips that you can give patients to be looking for or anything like that?
Yep, we are a only one active ingredient sunscreen. So we're zinc oxide with 17.5%. So it is a little higher, but I also like to think that zinc is also really strong for the immune system. So if that's going into your bloodstream, it's not going to harm you. And I do think that it has benefits to our immune system because I take zinc as a pill, in the mornings. So if I was doing 2 + 2 = 4, then I'm like zinc only equals immune system strength. And it also is a very natural based UV blocker. So then also with the other active, non-active ingredients like the inactive, we use aloe vera, citric acid, coconut oil, blueberry fruit extract, mango oil, coconut oil, carrot oil, aloe, shea butter, and water, which is considered aqua. And I'm trying to find there's a other flower. Oh, it's cucumber fruit. It's like it's pronounced like the actual like element of it is it sounds weird and people wouldn't understand it. It's like a starts with a C, so I was looking for it and it's cucumber fruit extract.
Mhm.
So I'm very particular on like what's going in my body, what I'm putting on my skin, because whatever you put on your skin goes into your body and it goes directly into your bloodstream. And I'm like very adamant on people being educated and realizing like that is something that we need to be paying attention to from the inside out. You know, it's
Yeah. Are
very
there
important.
any other reasons to make sure that like you have a, clean, I guess if we're going to use that word, sunscreen that's important for, people to use and then also for the environment?
Yes. So when you go in the ocean and stuff, sometimes the sunscreen also comes off like into the water. We are also ocean friendly. So when you poison yourself, you're also poisoning the ocean. So it's kind of just goes hand in hand, right? If it's poisonous for me, it's poisonous for the turtle. And I
Mhm.
had turtles growing up. That was one of the pets that I was allowed to have. And, you know, I I I was like when I was reading all this information on like when sunscreens actually come off your skin into the water, it actually bleaches the coral reefs. And I was like, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if spray is also the route that I wanted to go into as well, because that also has alcohol in it. So we're a lotion only. We don't do spray because a lot of the sprays actually have alcohol in them, and then alcohol dries your skin up, which then leads to burning. And then there's like this whole long term of skin aging, and then skin aging leads to potential cancers and all of that. So we're sticking to lotions where it goes on directly, leaves a sheer coating, and then it soaks in, which then you're soaking in the natural ingredients. And then when you go into the water, it's 80 minutes water resistant. So it's not going to come off, which is what I'm also thinking about because I like to snorkel and scuba and, we live in Florida. We like to be at the beach in Clearwater and all the fun things. We have to think about how we treat our oceans as well because we're surrounded by water. Everyone needs sunscreen. Everybody is looking to not get sunburn at Clearwater. So that was a whole other avenue that we went into instead of doing spray because spray is also really dangerous and flammable.
Yeah, you mentioned, protecting the reefs, and that's a lot of, I think newer news that has been, coming out that the sunscreens definitely can hurt the reefs. I can't remember exactly what the chemical is, but maybe you know it. But it,
I do.
yeah,
I
what
know
is
them all. I know them all. And I was learning even titanium dioxide, actually, if you breathe it in, it actually can trigger lung cancer.
it?
So a lot of people are not educated on titanium dioxide because it makes the lotion itself more sheer, but that's not what's important. It's not about being sheer. It's about protecting. So the right now where we're at with research currently with the FDA is that oxybenzones is considered not allowed, but they're still illegally allowing four other ingredients into products that are the active ingredient, which is the benzones. There's still other benzones that are the active ingredients, right? Then you have the oxalate, which is like right, it's like the OXICATE, and then you have like the hemooxalate, or but it's like the hemo and then it has late at the end. And I don't quote me on that. I'm not great with all this chemical words. I'm still learning how to pronounce my name sometimes. No, I'm just joking. But there's certain things that people are not being aware of because it's not on the forefront of the news yet. So I'm kind of trying to go into this with a very humble approach of just like, hey everyone, this is a great product. You have a great brand, you know, but this is what we are doing that's different. This is what we stand for. This is what we are. And we're grateful for all the inspiration and all the things that I've been able to learn from other brands. And that's kind of the avenue that I really stand on because really, when people first make something, if we're not aware until of the effects until later, it's not like we can't blame anybody. You know what I mean? So it's just like we want to encourage other people. We want to be spreading positivity and kind of just shedding some light on like, hey, we understand like new research comes out all the time. We have new things to learn every day. I still do, so it's kind of just like giving people that hope and that we can, bring change to the industry and set new standards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even doing this podcast, I learn something new every day, which I love about it. So, what should listeners know about skin cancer prevention and who's at risk and like?
So people that are considered, like, I would say more pale than olive skin, and then you have more on the African American side, they produce more melatonin, right? So people that are considered to be more albino, they don't produce enough melatonin, and it kind of obviously it shows, right? So
Mhm.
they have a higher risk of skin cancer. So I just encourage everybody from like 10 to 2 o'clock every single day, definitely apply their sunscreen at least twice. And also wearing, kind of covered clothes. Like if you're going to get direct sunlight, get those water resistant shirts. If you don't want to wear sunscreen, just make sure you're covered, wear a hat, that kind of thing, especially in Florida. I mean, the UV rays are very high. So we want to make sure we encourage people to wear their sunscreens heavily the most between 10 and 2 for sure. It's definitely the peak. I would say 10 to 12 is kind of like where it's starting to get up there. And then from 12 to 2, it's when it's like going to be pretty high. And then as the rest of the day, it kind of starts to go down. But hats, shirts, try to wear, even like the feet, the water shoes. Definitely wear water shoes because one, like when you go to the beach, you don't really think about putting sunscreen on your toes. And I've seen some people get skin cancer on their head, their toes, the bottom of their feet, and it's absolutely really random. You wouldn't think you would get skin cancer on your feet, but when you lay on your stomach and you have your feet up, if you don't
Mhm.
put sunscreen on your feet, you're also exposing. And then ears. People get skin cancer on their ears. So I just highly encourage people to think about every place that has skin on your body needs protection. So get an umbrella, stay in the shade, and, just be aware of the times when you go outside.
Yeah. Do you have any myths or, tips on sun safety? I mean, other than what you just said, obviously, I meant like more myths that you hear about sunscreen and sun safety. Like one, I think you already said was like the feet thing, right? But
Oh,
yeah, I didn't know if you,
the
it's a fun
oh,
question.
my well, it's kind of more of like, what am I eating? Right?
Yeah, okay.
I also think too, like if I'm gonna, I have to share this. This is kind of interesting. So my attorney, he actually called me, him and his wife, they randomly called me one day and they were like, Kristin, have you thought about making Costa Sea? That's the name of the sunscreen, Costa Sea Suncare. And they're like, Costa Sea turtle classes. Like you just put a little turtle on the side and put a hole on the side of where the sun, like so if you have sunglasses here and you drill a hole on the side to kind of keep the light in. I was like, Dr. Frank, what made you think of this? And he was saying that when you had sunglasses on, your eyes think that it's dark. So your body goes into a like kind of like a hibernation mode where it thinks it's nighttime. So it's not producing melatonin. So I said, well, I was like, everyone wears sunglasses to the beach. So he was saying that if you're wearing sunglasses, it actually suppresses that. And he was
Mhm.
suggesting that I make a sunglasses that could put like a hole on the side to get some light near my eyes while you're at the beach. And I was like, that's a good myth. I don't know if it's good to execute it, I don't know. I would love your feedback on that, but that's one of his myths that he shared with me, and I thought that would be interesting to hear feedback
Well,
from
I
you.
don't know exactly, but we do know in the morning you want to have, light exposure just to help with sleep and everything and your whole, honestly, they say it's good for longevity, but just in general, you want to have like that exposure. And you also don't want to have sunscreen on your skin for like 15 minutes and looking at getting sun exposure the first thing in the morning.
Right.
Now, how do you balance that with the fact that you need, sunscreen outside in Florida? And like you had mentioned, probably earlier, first thing in the morning, you don't need that full protection, but as the UV rays increase throughout the day, it's
Right.
definitely much more important to be, having sunscreen on. However, I do, recommend to my patients to put sunscreen on like right away, all day. So, but it would be a bit different than, your product, because I think that is more probably focusing on like maybe outside use and beach use and sports use and things like that, because I'm assuming it's pretty thick with zinc and not everybody can do that all day long, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it's not as thick. It's pretty balanced. It's a pretty balanced product. It goes
Good.
on pretty sheer, but it's still, you can still see a little bit of the zinc. So
Mhm.
you're exactly correct on that. It's definitely for more like heavy use outside when you're at the
Right.
beach.
Yeah, at the beach. Yeah, that makes sense. So, well, tell us. So you mentioned like, I don't know what we call it, beauty, or your experience with Miss Florida. And I know that they also work with a lot with like philanthropy and things like that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing on that side of things? I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix this.
So I was 15 years old. I started to volunteer with people with disabilities
Mhm.
while I was raising money for people with cancer with the American Cancer Society for 7 years. So I kind of, had both of my heart passions at once in high school. Then I graduated, and then I fully graduated from high school and then went into volunteering and raising money for people with disabilities. My cousin's Down syndrome, and definitely my mom's in the ESE department at Steinbrenner High School where I went to school. So I've been kind of around that community my entire life. So it was definitely amazing to see what it's done for me. Like those kids have changed me as a person. Definitely more patient, and I would say softer, as a like softer approach with a lot of things because of them. They've taught me a lot. But I started my own nonprofit. It's the Kristin Tomasello Foundation, and I started that when I basically went to compete at Miss Florida, and I got to talk about it in my interview. And then we came up with this whole campaign of art and music. So my product, the Costa Sea, benefits my nonprofit. Like I have some of the proceeds where it benefits the foundation. So I play the piano and I've sang at church and all that stuff. I've written actually music with them. So it's kind of interesting to see how like my whole life is in everything that I do. And it's like I get to wake up every day like super excited because I get to do everything that I love to do, and I get to impact people with it. So I started a program through my foundation called the Creating Hearts program. So it's where we do art and music, and it's an art and healing type of environment where the kids with disabilities, they paint on canvases, and then we've done album covers. Like they've painted album covers with me. So when I launch my song with them, it's going to be called the Grateful Heart Song, which is the name of the facility that I'm opening up for them. So I'm opening up a facility, an art and music facility for people with disabilities. So I'm super excited. That's the name, Grateful Hearts Center. And the word hearts in it has art. So we're going to have the logo where it's grateful and then arts, it's going to be kind of highlighted. So it'll be like this. I love everything that I do with them. And then I do a big prom for them every year. So we've grown. This will be my third prom doing, or that I've been doing. And we've hit, well, this year we're going to hit probably 500 kids to be there. So it's so beautiful. My first year, we had 150 people. Our second year, we had close to 350, maybe a little bit more. And then this year, I'm thinking we're going to be at around 500 just because we're partnered with different organizations in the area and we're way more plugged in than we ever have been. So it's been amazing to see this grow. So I'm super excited. I'm so excited.
That is so cool. You are a woman of many talents, right? So you are local.
Yes.
So all of this is based out of what, Tampa Bay area, and where
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Yep.
exactly are you in Tampa? You
Yep.
said? Okay.
Yep. I'm in Tampa. I'm actually in Carrollwood, but
Oh, okay.
I'm in Tampa Bay. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Wow. So where can people find you and your product if they want to work with you, follow you, donate
Yep.
to your foundation or anything like that?
So my personal page is Kristin Tomasello on Instagram and Facebook. And then my product is CostaSea Suncare.com. And then my foundation is Kristin Tomasello Foundation.org.
Awesome.
I know it's
Awesome.
been years in the making. It's been since I was 12. So I feel like now as an adult, it's been kind of new learning. Like I've been learning new skills on how to actually operate a nonprofit and operate business because I've been partnered with other organizations since I was a kid.
Mhm.
So now I'm learning like new skills that I've never learned before. So it's been really humbling to have such an amazing board. And I have my dad's a business partner of mine for the sunscreen, and I have two shareholders in the company. So it's been like really humbling to see the support, the love, all of the above, you know, just amazing,
Yeah.
amazing all around. So
What advice would you give someone listening or maybe a kid because you were so young when you started all of this is very impressive, kind of about pursuing dreams and maybe business goals and kind of protecting health and, giving back. Would you give them good advice or what would you say?
So I've been really emphasizing this quote for since my mom put this on my heart from when I was a kid. It's do good and be good, right? Then my own personal quote is your pain is your treasure. And I believe that we all have a story, we all have something that we've gone through, but I think that that is part of what fills us on our healing journey. And I think that if I didn't have that experience, I was practicing for a piano recital and my dad collapsed right there as I was practicing. And if I didn't have my piano to get me through those times, that was my outlet for me. So I realized how important it was. Music and art have been such a journey for me on my healing journey with my own story. But imagine what other people are going through that don't have a voice, that constantly feel left out, that they constantly feel outcasted. And when I was going through lupus, hives, and all that, I was a junior and a senior in high school, and I was for sure an outcast. You know, definitely did not look healthy. I had duck lips and I was covered from head to toe in urticaria. So, that also emphasized my heart of these kids don't really know where they belong. And I've been fortunate to actually be able to be healed and walk in my purpose. So I'm going to be a voice for people who don't have one. So partially writing those songs with them too, we did is I get to sing them but they're helping me be the voice for them.
Mm.
So it was like, wow, this is amazing. I wrote a song with a nonverbal kid that's in my art program. He doesn't talk, he has an iPad. And I was thinking about the song that I'm going to sing with them next month. And I'm thinking to myself, like driving home, because I'm listening to the song because I have the beats. And I'm thinking, wow, I get to be his voice essentially, but I'm not taking away his voice because he has one. He's able to communicate through his iPad and give me ideas. But essentially, he was the inspiration for me to have a song. And I find that to be more, even if it feels so small, it feels like they're being heard. And sometimes I think that we overthink the small beginnings and the little things. You know, we don't want to, we don't, we're so focused on getting the millions of views when really it's all about the 5 people that are with you in the beginning. So never be discouraged by your pain. Always, always never listen to anybody who doesn't believe in your dreams.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely loved that quote or that line too, is like make your pain your passion kind of thing. And I think that is really good advice. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for all your wisdom and, just sharing your story and all the great things that you're doing for our community. And I, hope everybody will reach out to you if they, want to work with you, find you, send you more, people. Sorry, phone call. Send you more people to, I don't know, maybe with the heart program or heart art program or everything. So yeah, thank you so much, Kristin, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. You're brilliant and I love everything that you do and I love your clinic as well. So I appreciate everything that you guys do for everybody as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those kind words. Yeah. Everybody tune in next week for next week's episode. Thank you so much.